Well, we started the company with 3 employees. I think we ended that first year with maybe 7 employees, something like that. We lost a little bit of money that year, but not too much, actually. We beat our budget, and that's not unusual for a startup to lose money in the first year or two. By year 2, we were profitable, and we've been profitable ever since. We added more employees. We had some turnover. Some certain people didn't fit, which is normal to have. But we kept our core group pretty tight. And at the time, we were just doing SBA 504 loans. That's what I'm very well known for around the country. But I've always wanted to do more. And frankly, before I had my own company, I did a lot of other SBA products. And so I always wanted to go back to that. And so we started in 2016. We began the process of trying to acquire a small business lending license, an SBLC, which is a special license that the government grants to a non-depository institution, a non-bank, to make SBA 7A loans. And so it was a bit of a process, as you can imagine. It's a bit very arduous. I think they know my conduct grade in 4th grade and stuff like that. But we began that process. These things don't come up very often. There's only 14 of these licenses. There hasn't been one issued since the early 80s. And that's partly because the SBA is the only regulator of these companies. And so, they don't want to become this massive regulator like the OCC or the FDIC. And so they're pretty particular about who they grant one of these licenses to. And the licenses, there's no new ones. So you have to have one that's available that you can purchase. Okay. And so because of all that, you have to have the right experience. You have to have the right capital stack in order, make sure that you have, the staying power to do this, to be able to make these loans, to service these loans, to basically be a good steward of SBA's programs and your borrowers. And so, those are the things that go into this. But then, of course, the government does take a little bit longer, as we all know, than private sector. So you put all those together, and it started in 16, and we officially got our approval in December of 2018, right before Christmas, and coincidentally 3 days before the government shut down. So that was fun, because it took a while to find a license, and then someone else, and it was a bidding process, and so someone else outbid us for the license. And then I recall, literally the next day, I decided to go dial for dollar, so to speak. And I jumped on the phone and I did a little research. And by the way, most of this information is not publicly available, like who owns one of these licenses. You got to dig around for this. So I started calling some people, and I called somebody I'd known years ago. And I said, Charlie, how long are you going to do this for? And he said, not much longer, Chris. I said, okay, so can we talk about me buying your license? He said, funny you should say that, because I'm ready to sell. I said, that's great. I said, but I remember looking at some of your loan files years ago, and you had some assets and some property types and some loans that I wasn't a big fan of. He said, don't worry about it. I'm selling the portfolio to this other institution. I said, Charlie, you're my new best friend. That's what I want. I just want to have the license, let somebody else buy the portfolio. I don't want somebody else's skeletons in the closet, and we'll go forward. And so we had to have SBA approve that transaction, had to wait for the portfolio sale to happen, and then we swung into action and could go through our approval process. And it like I said, it took a good year and a half just for us to go through the process to be approved. But we had to have the requisite experience, we had to have the requisite capital, good reputation in the industry, all these types of things is what they were vetting us, and the rest is history. So we have a very expensive couple pages of paper that are framed up on our wall here in the office. So the license is called a 750 form, the SBA form, and then we also have another couple pages framed right below it, which is our PLP, our Preferred Lending Partner designation, which allows us to have designated approval authority with SBA. So that's the other, I don't know if that was an expensive sheet of paper, but certainly the license one was an expensive 3 pages of paper. Yeah. Just to bring this full circle, so we get approved 3 days before the government shuts down. Government stays shut down for almost 45 days. And we actually didn't even tell anybody that we had gotten the license, been approved for it, until late February of 2019. And that's when we started. And basically it was about a year in, and then of course the pandemic hit, and then we had to pivot to doing Paycheck Protection Program loans, which I shouldn't say we had to pivot. We wanted to pivot. We wanted to be helpful in that environment, and obviously we did.